So, if I haven't had the privilege of connecting with you personally, and I know I have gotten to know a lot of you guys over the last handful of years, and some of you newer coaches and doing these calls, my name's Elizabeth Hartgate, and I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a backstory before I jumped into the meat of this call. So, I'm a mom of two, and as my shirt states, I am a Pregosaurus. I am due in January with our third baby. I have a 3-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, and one on the way, so we're totally crazy. And the disaster behind me, we literally, this past summer, picked up everything from our home in Boston and moved to Wisconsin. We bought our dream farmhouse, and the office is the last thing to get put together. We're going to be having those cabinets behind me painted. And like I said, most of the time when I'm working at this desk, I have a 3-year-old and or my crazy 1.5-year-old playing with random office supplies that are hopefully not dangerous as I sit and try to get things done. So I don't have a beautiful backdrop for you, and I don't really care because that's so unimportant in the grand scheme of things when you're trying to build a successful business. So when I was first introduced to Beachbody, I was in a very different place in my life than I am today. And basically, what I came to find was that I needed a positive change in my life. I needed it physically, I needed it emotionally, I needed it mentally, I needed it financially. So when Beachbody came into my life, I was 50 pounds heavier. Well, not 50 pounds heavier than I am right now, because it doesn't count when you're like 7+ months pregnant, but 50 pounds heavier than my, when I'm in fit weight. And I was working in jobs that just did not light my soul up. And I went to a good college. I got a degree in journalism. It had been my dream since I was a little girl to be a journalist. And I used to sit on my dad's lap and I would read the sports section of the Boston Globe. And it was my vision to become one of the first truly successful Boston Globe sports journalists as a woman. And the year I was graduating from college with my degree in journalism and all the hopes in the world, 2009, literally, you know what the market was like in 2009 as far as getting a job. But when you looked at the world of journalism, it was crumbling. The Boston Globe had put out announcements that it was potentially shutting down. The dream job that I had thought about and envisioned since I was 3 was not even going to be in existence anymore. Everything was starting to move online. And that beautiful craft of journalism that I was so passionate about was being kind of watered down into something pretty insignificant. So I did end up working as a journalist for about 2 years and found that not only is there no money in it, but I was like an ambulance chaser. I slept with a police scanner next to my desk, and it was my job to be on call and write these stories. And oftentimes it was just so depressing to me because the stories I was writing about were never like the happy things. They were like the terrible things that were happening in people's lives. So I shifted gears and I started to tap into the marketing world, and I worked in corporate marketing. And I loved the principles of marketing. I became obsessed with the psychology of marketing and the words we use in marketing and the impact they could or could not have on people. I still to this day geek out on anything in that realm. Like, what can I do to express myself or share something that could potentially positively make an impact in someone else's life and lead them to take an action step? So I worked in a few different corporate positions, and I finally found what I thought was going to be my dream job as a copywriter. So as a copywriter, I was a marketing copywriter, and I was working for this healthcare company, and it was my job to write the copy or the wording that went with the different products that would be on their website or in their brochures or in their magazines or whatever, trying to influence people to purchase them. And that's all marketing, because the wording that you use when you're trying to share about a product, if I were just to write the specs on that product, then it wouldn't necessarily influence someone to buy them. But if I could find a way to tell a story and put that person with their current pain points in their lives into this position where they can relate to what they're reading, all of a sudden they start thinking, oh, maybe this would work for me. Well, I worked for a total jerk and they didn't care about my skill set or my opinion or all the things I had learned in marketing. And one of the breaking points for me when I was working for this company, and I pulled it up today because I was curious if this product still existed online. So I told you it was like a healthcare company. A lot of the products were like for people with different mobility issues or, you know, injuries or like wheelchairs, different things like that, but anything in the health spectrum. But there was this whole section for obesity related conditions. And there was a product, and at the time, I checked today and I'll pull it up and I'll do a screen share so you guys know I'm not crazy. It was called the sandwich shovel. And it was for people with limited dexterity and mobility because of obesity. And it allowed them to clasp a sandwich on a stick and get it more easily into their mouth. So I'm gonna do a really quick screen share so you guys don't think that I'm totally full of it. And I wanna show you something in the wording that is on the site, because this is not the stuff that I had written years ago. So share, let's see, here we go. So this product is now called the sandwich holder, much classier. And when you look over to the right, this is where you'd find the copywriting. Like when you are buying a pair of shoes or when you are buying whatever, anything online, there's a description of the product. Now, smart copywriters, smart marketers understand that just the specs of the product aren't enough to get someone to purchase because, well, I don't know about a sandwich shovel. I don't know if you can find this elsewhere, but typically when you're shopping, especially in a world where everything's available to us, you can find these things elsewhere, but you're going to buy it where you feel the connection and where you read the description and they actually put you there clasping that sandwich and shoveling it into your mouth. But when you notice here, it's really just specs on the product. It's nothing inspiring. It's nothing to get you to feel anything. It's just to give you the info. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is the fact that your words that you use matter. We all sell the same products and we all sell them for the same prices. So what is it that makes it so easy for some of us to share a challenge pack, for example, or this coaching opportunity or our own story and have a success rate from that? And what is it that makes it so challenging for other people? Well, I can almost guarantee you it's something in your wording. So my goal is to kind of walk you through what I've learned as a marketer, a journalist, a copywriter, and what I apply so heavily to my business every single day that has helped me get great success and conversion rates when I'm talking to people. And I'm going to talk about how your words matter in your posts, in your behind the scene messages, in what you're saying in your emails. It doesn't matter the forum, but it matters what you say. And most importantly, those words have to make people feel something. They are not buying a product because of a product. They're buying something because of the vision that you cast for them if they use that product, if they decide to become a coach on your team, if they make that commitment to start this health and fitness journey with you. So what are you making them feel? How do you do that? If you're not a wordsmith, how can you still be successful in this? And what are you doing right now that's probably screwing up this process for you? So I'm going to share my screen. And it's a little embarrassing. So my husband used to work in corporate as well. And he was like always having to make PowerPoint presentations. And I've labeled, and I'm not even going to go into like a full screen share of it because it's just so pathetic. My PowerPoint is literally, I'm good with words, but I am not a PowerPoint person. And I almost didn't create one because it's so not my jam. Ask my team, I never do it. But I do think a lot of this stuff, it helps to see it visually. And what I will do is I will share this PowerPoint presentation with the uplines that I'm working with in this incredible Slay Squad mastermind that we have going, and ask them to pass along to you guys so you can pull the wording from it and you don't have to be like scribbling down notes frantically while you're on this call. So welcome all to the world's most basic PowerPoint presentation. It even says so in the title. Okay, so can you guys see this? Like I said, I'm not going into full presentation mode. Yes, no? Assume that you're in my top line and that I see you, because I need to see someone's thumb. Okay, perfect. And you can just physically see the PowerPoint, right? You can't see my disturbingly messy desktop. Okay, great. So your words matter, and we have to start with the words we say to ourselves. I am going to go into the tactical. I am going to walk you through how important it is to understand the words you're using in your marketing and your messaging. It's stuff that applies to someone who's brand new and just opened the doors to their business. And it's stuff that applies to someone who's been around the block for 6 years and is hitting some walls and wants to break through their ceiling and see bigger success in their business. But if you don't start here, then you're never, the other stuff I teach you isn't going to matter. So I want to know, what are the words that you are saying to yourself? Because you can be the world's best marketer. You can be an incredible wordsmith in everything you're doing. But when you wake up and you cross yourself in the mirror and you see yourself and you say those hateful things in your head, or you look at yourself and you call yourself that, or you see your reflection and you don't even really see it, like you choose not to notice it, and you tell yourself those lies of who you don't think you can become, that matters. So I want to know, what are the words that you say to yourself? And I'm going to encourage you to use this slide when it's sent to you. You can take a screenshot of it now. You can wait for your upline to send it over to you. But what are the words you're saying when you're presented with a challenge? So here's a good example. Do you call it a challenge or a struggle? Do you call it a roadblock or a challenge? Like, what is it? How are you viewing the problem? And what are you saying to yourself? Like, when you hit that bump in the road, are you saying, I've got this, I'm going to keep pushing? Are you saying, ugh, not again? Oh, this is so typical that this would happen to me. What about when you achieve failure? You're going to notice that, like, I'm a total junkie on the words we use. It's not falling into failure. It's not having a failure. I look at it as achieving a failure, because if you achieve a failure, failure is like par for the course. Ask Melanie. She's been the top coach in our company for multiple years. I bet you she has more failures than the rest of us, because that's how you advance. Okay, so when you achieve those failures, it's an accomplishment, because it's a sign that you're taking action. What do you say when you hit that failure? Do you say, I quit? Do you say, I'm not worthy? Like, what's the narrative that you're telling yourself? And do you need to shift that narrative? Because a failure is just a learning opportunity. Guys, I'm gonna real quick ask you guys just to make sure, do me a favor and mute your lines when you're on, just because I don't want the recording to have too much background noise for us. When you first wake up in the morning, this is a big one. Pay attention to this. We all wake up groggy and tired, and a lot of us have kids, and it's like, we don't get enough sleep. I get it. I'm there. I have 2 little ones. I'm peeing every hour in the middle of the night. I understand. So my natural inclination when I roll over and I go to wake up in the morning is like, ugh, here we go, another day. Like, I'm exhausted. I wish I could sleep in. All those thoughts and those words that you are saying to yourself, they matter. They are setting the tone for the rest of your day. If you can train yourself to wake up, and this is something I do, and it's against my nature. Before I open my eyes, I've trained my brain. This took me like a good month and a half of trying to do it every single day. Of before I open my eyes, saying I'm a very faithful person, thanking God for something that I'm so grateful for, and setting my intention for the day. And the words that I was using in that were not like, I hope I achieve this today. It was like, I am grateful for my incredible family, and I am patient with my children today. For the love of God, give me patience. So those words matter. So what's the internal dialogue? What happens when you win? Like, when you achieve a goal, do you just keep on trucking and you don't even take a minute to like soak it up and acknowledge what you just accomplished and say, wow, I did it. I am really good at that. What I started doing, like I did it when I made this presentation. It's been a while since I've gotten a chance to like create something a little bit nerdy about copywriting and marketing. And as I'm doing it, instead of just powering through it, I'm like, wow, I'm really good at this. Like, I am good at marketing. And you have to remind yourself of the things you're accomplishing as you go. When you work out, like, do you go down to push play and it's like pulling teeth and you hardly do your workout? Or are you like, I got that? My husband's really good at this. It's actually super annoying, especially at like 6 a.m. when he like talks himself through his workouts. I heard my 3-year-old and my husband were working out this morning, and I could hear my son saying to my husband, "Dad, we don't quit. Go, push harder. We don't quit." Because he hears my husband say that to me and to himself. Those are the words that he uses. And now that's, my 3-year-old has adopted that. And I think it's incredible. And I think it really matters. And then of course we all run into, like, when you get criticized or when someone says something negative or when there's a naysayer, what do you say back to that? Like, in your own mind, even, are you validating what they're saying? Are you confirming what they're saying? Or are you saying like, hell no, like, their opinion really doesn't matter to me? Okay, so the words you say to yourself, I had to lay that groundwork because it's so vital. It's so vital. Like, everything else I'm about to talk to you guys about absolutely does not matter unless we talk through this piece. Okay, so this is just an example. Like, do you use the words try versus do? It's like, go Yoda. There is no try, there's only do. I don't have time, and replace that with, I'm choosing not to prioritize that. Or I want versus I am. Or, oh, I don't want to. Or acknowledging like, hey, I'm able to do this. What a gift. Or when you look in the mirror, you're so fat, or you're so gross, or you're so ugly today. Or look at the one body I'm blessed to honor today. Like, I'm going to go crush my workout. Or when you achieve the goal, like, okay, what's next? Or stopping and saying, hey, I'm so proud of this victory. I earned this. I worked hard for this. This feels good. I want to do this again. And when someone criticizes you, like, maybe they're right, or their thoughts aren't really my problem. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to send this off to your upline so you have it. So when we're posting, the second thing, the words you use to invite. I'll talk about that through both posts and private messages. These are examples. And I just want you guys to wrap your brain around the concept of the power of inviting when you do it the right way. When you do it through story, first of all, you're going to hear me be a broken record about using the power of story. And I don't want to hear one more person BS themselves into believing that they don't have a story. I am sorry. If you have a pulse, you have a story. Something brought you here. You have had emotions in your life. You've had experiences. You've encountered challenges that you've overcome because you're here to talk about. You have a story. So I am continually talking about the power of story. But you'll see a lot of times when someone, let's say, for example, trying to post about a challenge group, you have this awesome picture and they say something along, none of this is wrong. I'm just telling you, like, how to level up, okay? Like, this is coming from my marketing brain and what has worked for me. You'll see posts like, I'm looking for 5 women who want to get healthy for the holidays and lose those last 10 pounds. And they go into like, this is what I can provide for you. And I'm going to support you through this journey. And it's going to be amazing. That's not bad. That's not wrong. But there is something better. When you can impact someone through the power of your story to still do the same thing, to still sign up for your challenge group, but you give them something they can relate to, all of a sudden you've got them hooked. Because now you're popping around in their head while they're sitting at work thinking about that story you're told and about how they really related to it and how you're speaking directly to them. So instead saying something like, you know, I was looking back on last year's holiday pictures and I realized I wasn't in a single one of them because that was the year that I hid from the camera. And then going into, so like you're telling this vulnerable piece of your story that people might not know, but they sure as heck can relate to it. And then going into like, and that's what inspired me to put together a group for other people who have had that experience, because I don't want to go through another holiday ever again looking and like, I'm not in a single family picture. And I know that there are other women out there feeling that same thing, and I can help you because I'm willing to help myself, and I want you to come on this journey with me, and then give the details on your challenge group. Does that make sense? I don't have the chat pulled up at the moment. Can I have this up too? Yeah. Okay, cool. And I'm just not ignoring you guys in the chat, but I'll take questions at the end, okay? Because there are a bunch popping up and I know I'll probably miss stuff. Okay, and there are just other examples here. Like, we see people just kind of gushing about how awesome our programs are. Like, you're here probably because you've had some kind of positive result with either a workout or a nutrition plan or this platform, this opportunity, this business, whatever. And you just want to gush about it. And I think that's awesome. And this is how I used to do it. And once in a while, I notice myself doing it when I'm getting a little bit lazy. Like, I'm so obsessed with this program. It's the perfect thing for me. Like, I was looking to lose the baby weight after my son. I had hardly any time to dedicate to working out. So this was ideal because it was about 20 minutes. Like, it was so great. And in my mind, I justified it by saying, well, other people out there are looking for a 20-minute workout because they have no time either in their postpartum. But if I can put some emotion behind it, if I can compel them through the power of my story and still say the same things, they're still going to know I was obsessed with that program, that it's only 20 minutes. But if I can like make them feel something, it's a whole different ball game. So here's the difference. Like, at 7 months postpartum, it clicked that I didn't just have a baby anymore. Each morning I'd wake up and I'd convince myself that this was just my body as a mom, and I was so exhausted and too discouraged, and I felt like it wasn't even worth trying anything anymore. And then one day when I got to the store, or went to go to the store, I pulled up my maternity jeans at 7 months postpartum and heard myself say aloud, okay, I've had enough. And that's when the godsend of a 20-minute program came into my life and everything changed. Do you see that difference? Like, do you feel a difference? So there are some other post examples that I'll share with you guys. And this is like, I think, a powerful piece of telling a story. Now, there are different levels of telling a story, and I see this a lot. Coaches who say, okay, yep, she's right. I have a story. I need to share it more. I need to get more vulnerable. But instead of actually telling the story, they start alluding to the story. So they'll say something along the lines of like, oh, I've always struggled with my weight and it was such a hard thing for me. Like, they'll even say like, I remember crying about it. And it was like, people would make fun of me and I didn't think there was anything I can do about it. It's getting better. Like, you have a little emotion behind it. People can relate to that. But then you could tell the real story. When I was 15 and I remember the first time someone called me fat to my face. And I can still, it's like a visceral feeling that I can remember. And then what happened after that and so on, and then guiding them through that journey. It's so different because there's a lot of people alluding to stories out there. Be one of the very few who tells a story, and you will become a master of this business. And a couple of resources for those that are looking to take that to the next level, because it's not something you can just switch on and off overnight and like say like, okay, now I'm going to be a great storyteller. I study the art of storytelling. Like, that's not a book or anything. Like, I seek out resources on storytelling. I've done this for several years now. I've utilized the StoryBrand podcast, building a story brand, and then anything Donald Miller. Like, he is a master of story. Highly recommend him. We also had many of the other leaders who are at Leadership remember her name. She was awesome. Kendra Hall, I think. Look up Kendra Hall. She was awesome. She's a professional storyteller, and she actually talked a lot about this concept of telling your story versus alluding to it. So, and these are just more examples, okay? So I'll send this stuff to you, and each one will kind of show how it's getting a little better, but it's not quite there yet. And then the alternative of actually telling the story. And then as far as the business opportunity, you'll see a lot of people doing the same thing, like kind of gushing about how awesome it is. Like, coaching has totally changed my life. I used to dread going into work. And now I get to do something that makes an impact in people's lives while changing my own life. It's such a gift. I'm going to be mentoring 3 new people this month who want to see change in their own lives. If that sounds like you, drop your favorite emoji below. You see that a ton. And sometimes it works. You'll get a few people here and there. But you'll get lifers. You'll get the one who are ready to like make the life change when you get deeper. Like, this is an example. My son got his worst ear infection yet, and I couldn't be home with him because I was out of days off and I couldn't afford to take an unpaid day. So that kind of like paints the picture of not only did I not have enough money, so I was working in a job that probably had me living paycheck to paycheck, but I also had a jerk of a boss and I was sick of it. And it was in that moment that I made a decision that I had to do something different or my life was going to look like this forever. And that's when I saw someone on social media home with her babies, and it looked like she was having fun building a business of her own too. And I reached out despite my fears. So that's a good thing to note. Despite my fears, that's reminding them like, hey, I had doubts about this too. I speak directly to the reservations I know people have because I had them. And that immediately builds trust and rapport with the people that are reading it. Because I'm not trying to paint this perfect picture of like, I was born to be a coach. This is amazing. There are never any hardships and it's always come naturally to me. And I always wanted to do this from the beginning. No, this is saying like, I had fears about this. I wasn't so sure. And I learned about what she was doing to see if I could do it too. And if I hadn't taken the time to learn about it, I'd still be putting my babies in daycare, even when they needed their mama. And that's why I'm sharing a bit more about what I do now and how it can be the catalyst to change for you too. And I'm going to share that at 8 p.m. tonight. Comment below if you'd like me to pass along the details. It's just different, right? You know, and the key is, I believe in repel marketing. What does that mean? It means if someone can't relate to that, they're probably not my people, and then I don't waste my time with them. I'm not looking to attract everybody. I'm looking to attract the right people. And by getting deeper in my story, it will attract the people who connect with me. And it will help save me a lot of headaches of dealing with the people who I don't connect with. This applies as well to inviting behind the scenes. So we see a lot of the hey girl messages. I'm not knocking hey girl messages. I'm just telling you what I do in my business and how it works for me. So you'll see like, hey girl, I've been looking at your Instagram feed and I love it. You'd be so good at what I do. Have you ever thought about coaching? Now you could go out and send that to 100 people and hope that a handful of them stick. What I prefer to do, and this is just my personality and what I believe in and what has worked for me to help me build an incredibly strong 7-figure business, is to get to know individuals that I have some common ground with in the first place. So I see their Instagram and they have toddlers. So they're probably pulling their friggin' hair out too. Or I see people who have similar interests to me. Like I'm trying to learn how to garden. We just moved to Wisconsin and I have a garden with over 40 different fruits and vegetables. And I am like every day this close to killing every last one of them. So now I'm connecting with people on social media who garden, trying to learn from them. So I connect with them, I get to know them, and then it leads into the invite because I, at this point now, have some kind of common ground with them versus just sending this blanketed message. My words can pack more of a punch to them. So like we've been talking for a little bit and someone expresses that they hate working in their 9-to-5 too, or, you know, something led to that. I know, I feel you about the whole being stifled in the 9-to-5 environment. I was there too, and it felt so soul-sucking to me. Honestly, I hope you don't mind me being bold for a minute, but I was looking at your pictures and your feed, and I literally think you'd be amazing at what I do as a coach. You already understand the value of personal growth because maybe I saw they went to a conference or they're reading that book that I read. You have that entrepreneurial spirit because they express they don't want to be in a 9-to-5 anymore. And like this could be a platform for you to live out those dreams. Have you ever thought about it? So instead of just like, this is still a quick message. It doesn't take me a long time to send, but I'm weeding out the people that would probably ignore me or say no anyway. And the people that I am inviting, instead of wasting that invite on them, I'm sending them something that they already feel a little bit more connected to. So they're more likely to talk to me. They're more likely to say, well, I don't know. I don't really know what it's about. Can you tell me more? And just, this is You'll see at the end I have a little bonus for you guys that I will also send. But anytime after a message like this, someone's interested, I get them on the phone. I get them on the phone. Let me say it 3 more times. I get them on the phone, I get them on the phone, I get them on the phone. I do not convert people online. I'm also not recruiting a ton of people, but I have a lot of depth in my business, and that comes from connecting with people one-on-one. And when I get them on the phone, my conversion rate is 9 out of 10 versus 1 out of 10 when I try to do it through social media. Okay. So the word you use to follow up. People are so afraid of follow-ups, but we all know it's overused, but the fortune is in the follow-up. If you guys are sending these hey girl messages and getting crickets, and let's say you're sending 100 a week. I hear that sometimes, like that's a ton to me, but good for you. Like keep powering through. Say you send 100 a week. You have to be realistic and look at your numbers. You are trying to build a business. So you need to know what percentage of those, let's say 100 or 10, whatever your number is, are converting. If you're sending 100 and you're getting 2 coaches from that, okay? Don't you think maybe you should be tweaking something because something's not working? If 98% of the people you're talking to are not saying, yeah, I want to think about coaching, let me sign up with you. So my theory is that if your words matter, change your words so that they make more of an impact, 1. And 2, you have to keep following up with these people, especially if you're sending these really simple, kind of disconnected hey girl messages. You can't expect that to possibly convert into someone signing up with you. Like there's a ton more work for you to do between sending that message and deserving to have that person on your team. So when I follow up, instead of saying something like, oh, hey, have you had a chance to look at that video I sent you? Or like kind of pinning it on them, or, hey, I didn't hear back from you. Like, what'd you think about that document I sent? Saying something that kind of pins it back on me. Hey, Jen, we just had such a crazy weekend over here. I'm finally able to pop back in and check in. Did you have any questions about what I sent over? It has a different feel. That wording is less like pointing my finger at them and said like, did you watch that video? And more of like a, hey, sorry, we've just been crazy over here. Sorry, I haven't checked in for the last few days. I just want to see, did you have questions? And I send a message like that, even if you scroll up and the last 3 messages are me. They're not really just sitting there waiting for me, but it still doesn't point a finger at them. And that dictates how someone's going to feel, and how someone feels will determine whether or not they're going to work with you and want to work with you. So also in follow-up, some other things I'll say, like let's say we'd been talking about the coaching opportunity and they showed interest. Instead of just saying things like, hey, I like to include people's names because it makes it feel more personal. And, hey, are you still interested in getting started? Whether it's like workout program or coaching. Morning, Jen, I was thinking of you because I was putting the final touches on my meal plans for the people starting in my Healthy Holidays group. And I know you wanted to join us when we chatted last. Did you still want some help getting started? Or would you rather I pass that spot along? That does a few things. 1, it personalizes it to them because I referenced something that they had already told me. They wanted to join this group previously, and we had already discussed that. I'm offering my help because people have a hard time starting, and I want to be the one to help them. And then I put a little urgency to it because I'm like, hey, if you don't want to do it, no problem, but I'm going to be passing that spot along. So do you want it? So it does a couple things versus just the standard follow-up. And let's see, this is the same concept, but this kind of gives a little, like, this is something I do because I think about how I work well when people kind of lay out the truth in front of me. This doesn't work for everyone. You also have to use your gut and know like who you're talking to. That's why it's, to me, important to get to know each person you're talking to. But instead of, again, pinning it on them, I haven't heard back from you, so I want to check in and see if you looked over what I sent. That's like so like what my mother would say if she was like frustrated I didn't do something she wanted, versus saying, again, pinning it on me. I've been traveling, but I'm catching up on my messages. Wanted to check back in. So you didn't think I forgot about you. I'd so love to help you with, and then insert the goals they mentioned they wanted. That means you've done the work. That means you've had the conversation. You've asked them what their overall goals are. You've asked them what they're currently doing for their nutrition or fitness. And then kind of relating to them and connecting with them. And like, if I get that vibe, they're just like hesitating, probably because they fear failure, or they fear what people might think, or they fear that this isn't going to work for them. I know it can be tough to take those first few steps, because I went through it too, but it's so amazing when you do. Will you let me help you take those first few steps? Like, hold their hand. It's, a lot of people are scared to do this kind of thing. All right, and then lastly, the word you use to close. So by close, I just mean like, you want these people to convert. So when you get that standard message of how much is it? Guys, I'm not looking at the questions right now, not to be rude, just save them for the end. I'll open it up. When someone says like, yeah, I'm interested, how much is it? If you just say it's 160. Well, there's something that happened. This is like actual data and the nerdy stuff that I study, and literally what, like, if I could read, you know, any kind of book, it's a book about this kind of stuff. There's something that happens in the human brain when they're presented with a price. Now you will see that ultimately I'm going to be telling them the same 160, but the way that I present it and the order in which I present it will make a difference as to whether they say yes or no. So I could tell them, yep, it's 160. It's a great price. You should get started. It's a challenge pack. It's big savings. Or I can tell them what they would have paid had they gotten everything separately. I tell them the value of what they're getting, so all the different things that are included. And then I let them know what they're saving and the bonuses that they're getting, and then how they're going to feel. So typically, to get the whole program plus the meal plan, the recipe, Shakeology, everything is about $270, and that has expensive shipping. But this month I can group it all together for you for $160, and that's with discounted shipping too. And that's going to include, never discredit yourself as their coach. That's like the best part of this whole package. That includes me as your coach, guiding you through this whole thing and giving you access to my groups so you can get and feel the results that you really want. How does that sound? Always end with a question, because you need to give them a reason to respond. Okay, so that's presenting the price. And when you're trying to close, if you're at that point of like how they get started or what they're going to be doing to get this process going, you could say something like, oh, did you want a challenge pack, or did you want to get set up as a coach or a customer? That will probably confuse them. That's language we use. They don't know what that means. But instead, I highly recommend you become the authority figure, because that's what you are to them. You're guiding them through a process. You're going to tell them what they're going to do. Okay, so based on everything you shared, here's the way we're going to get you started. It's the no-brainer way. It's going to save you the most money. It's going to get you everything you need. And then I give them my recommendation. We're going to get you started with the Shift Shop Proving Grounds Challenge Pack, because this month, first of all, it's the same price as challenge packs that have less in it, so you're going to get more for your money. It's going to come with the nutritional element, the support you need, the workouts for the whole year, access to all of our meal plans, and then you're going to get access to my group so I can walk you through this stuff so you actually stay the course and get the results you wanted. So I give the recommendation. I'm not asking them what they want. I'm telling them what I think they should be doing. And then they're usually appreciative of that, because they don't know what the heck they should be doing. That's why they're talking to me. And as far as closing, reassuring them and relating to them. So when someone gives that excuse at the end because they're like almost ready, but then they have to come up with one more reason not to do it, because that's how people operate. You know, I know it's really hard to not have a lot of time, but it's so worth it. You can pick the shorter workouts too. Like, we'll find you the time. Or letting them feel like they're not alone. Oh, I can completely relate. I had that same struggle before I started. And that's like the roadblock that most of the people I work with, that's what they face before they decide whether or not they're going to go for it. But, and then I reassure them, we're going to help you get through that and get you set up with a plan that will work for you. You know, this time is going to be different because I'm here to guide you through it. We're going to pick the right program that feels best for you. And I know you can't even fathom squeezing any more time out of your day, but that's what I'm here for. So humor me and let's get you started and we can work through that part together. Sound good? Because my goal in the closing, I want them to get a share card and fill it out. I don't want them to take time. I don't want them to go think about it. They don't need to sleep on it. It's a yes or a no. So I want to get them to that place where they're ready to say yes or no. Okay, so my bonus, get them on the phone. I think I mentioned that like 5 or 6 times a little bit ago. And I'm going to share my 3-way phone script with you, with your uplines who can pass this on to you. So basically, this is like a whole other call, and it's long. But basically what I do is, for my downline coaches who are newer, I offer 3-way calls so that they can get me on the phone with their prospect, and they can learn how I either speak to the business opportunity or the challenge packs or whatever. And I have my approach as to what I talk about in that call. I'm going to give you, it's not a script, an outline, because you have to make it your own, because 99% of it is my story. You do it for your story. That 3-way phone script also applies to what I say if I'm just hopping on the phone with the prospect. Like maybe you're at a point in your business where you wouldn't be asking your upline to be doing 3-way calls with you, but you'd just be hopping on the phone with your prospects as well. This is what I would recommend. Like you just tweak it so that it's for that one individual, and you can use that as an outline. And I know people are going to ask, so I'm just going to tell you, how do you get someone on the phone? I keep it super casual, because you're thinking in your head right now, I can tell, I can see it on your faces. You're thinking, how do I actually get someone on the phone? Everyone wants to just stay in Messenger, or like, that's weird. They're going to think I'm creepy. As soon as they show any, and I only get people on the phone for the coaching opportunity. I don't personally do it for challenge groups or challenge packs. But I find that, like I said, my conversion rates are 9 out of 10 versus 1 out of 10. That's pretty damn good. So it's worth it to me. But I don't do it in a creepy way. Like as soon as they show any interest in coaching or they have questions about coaching, I just say to them, oh my gosh, I could literally write you a novel on here, but I'm going to spare you the mini novel on Instagram Messenger. What's your availability next week? We can just hop on the phone real quick. That way you can pepper me with whatever questions you might have. And then you can decide for yourself if this is the right thing for you. It'll save you some time. It'll answer whatever questions you have. Your words matter. Do you hear how I said that? You can decide for yourself how you want, if this is the right thing for you. You can ask me questions so I can, address whatever it is you're thinking about. I can save you time by hopping on the phone. Okay? So I will send that bonus along with this entire PowerPoint. And hopefully that will help you guys. So I'm going to stop the screen share. And I'm going to open up for questions, and you can post them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask them aloud. That's great too. Anybody? Any takers? Okay, wait. I think Mackenzie asked something here. Yes, that's awesome. Mackenzie gave a good example of how she suggests getting them on the phone too. So you might want to look in the chat so you can see that. Do I think IG is becoming more blog-like? I don't know, not necessarily. Like you don't have to do long stories. When I say share your story, it can still be short, or you can lead to a blog if you want it to be longer. I guess I don't know enough about the trend of Instagram to answer that question, but I don't think it's necessarily relevant. I think my point is more just share your story no matter where you're sharing it. At what point in your coaching journey did you share your story? I wish I started sharing it at day 1, but of course I didn't, because I did everything wrong in the beginning. But like I said, failure is a really good teacher. So I suggest from the beginning. And what I tell people is, if you have a story, like something, it can be your first day as a coach, you have a story, something led you to sign up as a coach, something led you to become a challenger, some struggle, you got so fed up that you decided you were going to make some kind of change. That's your story. So when I first started and I didn't have like a massive transformation yet, or I didn't have, this whole, coaching transformation yet, where I had like earned all this money yet, I spoke to my vision for where I was taking it, and I spoke to my coach's story. So you don't always have to share your story. It can be like, yeah, this is what my plan is. This is why I'm so inspired to be here. This is why I love the team. This is why I love the community. This is where I'm going with this. And you know, all of that is confirmed by the fact that my coach did it and I'm doing it too. And talk about your coach's story. Okay, I'm gonna look through a few more questions here. How do you follow up with people who don't answer with you? People who don't answer you. Just like I said in the PowerPoint, I send follow-up messages even if they haven't answered. So I'm gonna send you the PowerPoint, you'll be able to see those. How long is too long for a post? I don't think there's necessarily an answer for that. Sometimes I'm really wordy. Sometimes I can find ways to trim it down, but I think you have to know your tribe and what they want. Like you have, and being succinct is a good skill, and learning how to make an impact with your story without having to be like too verbose, I think is really powerful. So I don't think there's necessarily like amount of words, except Instagram like will actually cut you off. So it depends where you're, the platform in which you're sharing it, and what your people want. Like some people like receive information better through video. Some people like are happy to read a really long blog post. Some people want short and sweet and to the point. So you kind of have to know and gauge what your people are responding to and then give them more of that. Let's see. In regard, okay, so someone asked, how does this sound? Okay, so I used to try everything to lose weight, but I literally used to work so many hours and literally barely. I would say you're alluding to a story there. You're not telling a story. So think of a specific time and tell that story that paints that picture. In regards to giving the discount so that they are coach or discount coach, how would you answer when they ask, what is the $15? Okay, so I just tell people, yep, we can sign you up with a wholesale account or a VIP membership, or, you know, as a customer, totally up to you. For example, I signed my mother up as a discount coach or with a wholesale account. She doesn't actually work the business, but she benefits because she saves money each month. So even with that $15 tacked on, you're still saving about 15 bucks a month on your shake. I just keep it really simple. If you follow up with somebody that said they're interested and you see they are reading your messages but not responding, how many times do you follow up and how long do you wait between follow-ups? I would like follow up every couple days for the first like week or so, and then if they still aren't responding, I'd wait like a week or so, and then like maybe get it a little bit longer, and I follow up to 10 times, and then they go on a follow-up later list, and then I check in later. I will pass out the presentation. Yep. The social media followers, I'm not going to answer that one only because it's a little off topic, and they're, I mean, your story is really powerful, getting people to connect with what you have to share. Spending time developing relationships. Okay, so I still set timers and I'm still diligent. Like I will send a message. If I'm doing a power hour, like I'm sending the initial message, I don't get lost in a conversation. I save the follow-up of that conversation to be when I assign the time to follow up. So I just get really structured with my time. And helping your own coaches is huge. You have to be serving the people that you have that are willing to work and ready to work. So just finding a balance of that. I pour into the people that I have that are willing to work, I would say like 80% of the time. Growing my social media, that's a tough, how long did it take me to grow it? That's a tough question because years. It took a long time, but I was doing it wrong for so long, and I did it on my personal page. Now I'm growing my Instagram, so it's so different for everyone. I do, if you guys want it, I do use a service now called, oh my gosh, what's it called? Jumper Media. And my contact at Jumper Media is, I'm typing it into the chat for you guys. Ian at jumpermedia.co, not com. And if you give my name, they can hook you up and they help you grow your Instagram following. I also know some other coaches, like if Jen Richardson is your upline, she has someone too, you can give her name, but that's helped me tremendously to grow it. And someone just asked for my Instagram handle. and it's Liz Hartke. Guys, there's such good questions. Connection builder, what did I use to keep track of stuff? I used pen and paper and a whiteboard, and I'm finally switching to Streak 6.5 years into this thing. Told you I'm not super organized. Okay, so I would love to answer all of these, but I also want to respect everyone's time. These are awesome. And you guys are awesome for taking time out tonight. And I hope this was helpful. I'm going to send the PowerPoint. I'm going to send the bonus of how I structure my three-way calls or my prospecting calls. And I would love to hear feedback on how this goes for you guys. So feel free to connect and tag me on Instagram or any of that good stuff. And I'm dying to see your stories and cheer you on. This is such an incredibly powerful business platform, and those of us that take full advantage of it and really act like business owners, like you want this thing to reward you, you want this thing to like change your life, show up for it. My goodness, show up for it. It is so worth it. It's so powerful. Everything in my entire life has changed forever, and it's affecting generations. Like my children will live a different life and will raise different kinds of children because of who I've decided to become through this platform. So go after it. You have not tried everything. I promise you. The people out there who are successful in this do not have anything that you don't have. They just have a stronger willingness to continue to show up, to continue to Google until they find the answer. And you are so capable of that. So thank you for taking time out tonight. I will also share this recording in case you guys want to reference it or pass it along to your teams. Have a nice night. Thanks again, everybody.